Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Garrett Morrison always thought he knew his wife. 5 years of marriage, countless shared dinners, late-night talks about the future, plans scribbled on napkins at cheap restaurants back when they were just two young lovers in Denver. He was 38, working as a civil engineer for a respected construction firm, and had built his life with the same precision he used to design concrete and steel structures. Sloane, his 34-year-old wife, was an interior designer with a growing portfolio and an energy he'd always admired. She brought color to his methodical life. At least, that's how Garrett saw their marriage. The trip to Panama had been an old promise. Since their engagement, Garrett had vowed to take her one day to see the crystal-clear beaches and lush tropical beauty of the country. Sloane talked about Panama with a sparkle in her eyes that made him want to move mountains to make it happen. When they finally lined up vacation time, savings, and the will to go, they booked 2 full weeks. No kids to leave with grandparents, no responsibilities that couldn't wait. Just the two of them, celebrating 5 years together in a distant paradise. The flight from Denver to Panama City was long, but Sloane's excitement made it feel lighter. She flipped through travel magazines, pointed out photos of beaches, talked about snorkeling and rainforests. Garrett smiled, satisfied to finally keep that promise. The hotel they picked was in a tourist area, with an ocean view and easy access to major attractions. At check-in, the manager mentioned local guides available for hire. Sloane immediately took interest. That's how they met Raphael. The guide showed up at the hotel lobby the next morning, punctual at 8 o'clock. Garrett sized him up with the trained eye of someone who evaluates structures. Raphael was 29, maybe 30. Sun-kissed skin, dark hair, an easy smile that revealed perfect white teeth. He wore a shirt that hugged muscles built from years of swimming and hiking trails. He spoke English with a thick but charming accent. Garrett noticed how Sloane smiled when she greeted him, how her gaze lingered a second too long on the guide's face. He brushed it off as paranoia. His wife was just friendly with everyone. Their first tour was to a private island. Raphael explained that few tourists knew about the place, it was only reachable by a small boat he piloted himself. The crossing took 40 minutes, salt wind whipping across their faces, the sun already strong by 9 in the morning. When they arrived, Garrett understood why Raphael called it paradise. The beach was a strip of white sand surrounded by thick vegetation, waters so clear you could see colorful fish swimming meters below. No one else was around. The silence was broken only by gentle waves and the unseen birds singing in the forest. Raphael anchored the boat and helped them ashore. Sloane was radiant, spinning on the sand with her arms wide, laughing like a child. Garrett snapped photos of her with his phone, capturing the happiness he believed he'd given her. Then, without warning, Sloane started taking off her clothes. First the cover-up, then the top of her swimsuit, then the bottom. In seconds, she was completely naked, running toward the ocean with a freedom Garrett had never seen in 5 years of marriage. He froze. His eyes automatically went to Raphael, who watched the scene with an expression Garrett couldn't read. The guide quickly looked away, but not fast enough. Garrett felt his face burn with a mix of shame, confusion, and something darker he didn't want to name. Sloane swam far out, completely oblivious to the discomfort she'd created. Or maybe not so oblivious after all. The rest of the day was tense for Garrett, though Sloane seemed unaware. She swam, sunbathed naked for long minutes before finally putting clothes back on, and chatted excitedly with Raphael about life in Panama. Garrett replied in monosyllables, his mind replaying the scene on loop. Who was that woman? Where was the Sloane he knew? That night, in the hotel room, Garrett couldn't hold it in anymore. As soon as the door closed, he turned to her, jaw clenched. What was that today, Sloane? She was taking off her earrings in front of the mirror and looked at him through the reflection with genuine surprise. What? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You took off every stitch in front of a man we just met. Sloane laughed. A light, carefree laugh that cut deep into Garrett. Garrett, for God's sake. We were on a deserted beach in Panama. It was just Raphael, and he's probably seen tourists do that all the time. You need to relax. Relax? You were completely exposed in front of another man, and I need to relax? She turned to face him directly, still wearing that smile he now found almost mocking. We're in paradise, Garrett. We have to enjoy it. Live in the moment. You're so controlled all the time, so worried about what other people think. For once in your life, can't we just be free? Garrett opened his mouth to respond, but the words died in his throat. Sloane had already turned back to the mirror, the conversation over in her mind. He stood there, feeling like a stranger in his own marriage. The next night, they dined at a restaurant recommended by the hotel. The menu was full of fresh seafood, and Garrett, trying to get into the vacation spirit Sloane kept preaching, ordered a generous portion of oysters. They were delicious, salty, fresh, with a touch of lemon. He ate nearly a dozen while Sloane savored ceviche. They talked about plans for the next few days, and for a few moments, Garrett almost forgot the discomfort from the day before. The forgetting lasted until 3 a.m, when he woke up with his stomach in revolt. He rushed to the bathroom and spent the next hours alternating between violent vomiting and diarrhea that left him weak and dizzy. Food poisoning. The oysters, probably. Sloane woke up to the noise and appeared in the bathroom doorway, her face worried. Garrett, you look awful. Do you need a doctor? He shook his head, unable to speak without another wave of nausea. He spent the whole night in the cold bathroom, sweating and shivering, cursing the oysters and his own decision to eat them. When the sun rose, Garrett was lying on the bed, pale and exhausted. The fever had broken, but the nausea lingered like a cruel reminder. Sloane got dressed and sat on the edge of the bed. You need to rest. I'm going out to buy water and maybe some medicine. There's a pharmacy close to the hotel. Garrett murmured agreement, barely able to keep his eyes open. He heard the door shut and slipped into restless sleep, filled with strange dreams where he chased Sloane across endless beaches but never caught her. He woke in the early afternoon with a dry mouth and aching muscles. The room was empty. He looked at the bedside clock. Almost 2 p.m. Sloane had left at 8 that morning. 6 hours to buy water and medicine. He sat up with difficulty and grabbed his phone. No messages from her. He texted asking where she was. The reply came 20 minutes later. Exploring Old Town. Heading back soon. How are you feeling? Garrett replied that he was improving and lay back down. She got back around 5, carrying a bag with bottled water, crackers, and motion sickness medicine she'd bought at a pharmacy. Her face was flushed from the sun, and there was a glow in her eyes he attributed to the outing. She cared for him gently, made tea, made sure he ate something light. Garrett wanted to ask what she'd done during those 6 hours, but exhaustion won out and he fell asleep again. On the 3rd day, still weak but noticeably better, Garrett insisted on leaving the hotel. They visited nearby beaches, this time without a guide. Sloane was affectionate and attentive, holding his hand as they walked along the sand, taking pictures of the two of them, laughing at his weak jokes. Garrett started to relax. Maybe he'd overreacted to the island incident. Maybe Sloane was right, he was too controlling. After all, they were on vacation, and she was right there with him, present and loving. The following days passed in a pleasant routine of tourism. They visited the Panama Canal, explored the old city, tried local dishes. Garrett religiously avoided seafood. They didn't see Raphael again, which secretly relieved him. The memory of that first day began to fade, replaced by genuinely happy moments with his wife. On the last day of the trip, as they packed in the hotel room, the front desk called to say someone was waiting for Garrett in the lobby. He was confused but went down. He found Raphael sitting on one of the lounge chairs, visibly uncomfortable, hands clasped in his lap. Raphael? Is something wrong? The guide stood quickly, avoiding direct eye contact. Mr. Morrison, I need to talk to you. Privately, please. Garrett felt a chill run down his spine, an instinct he didn't want to acknowledge. He agreed, and the two walked out to the hotel terrace, an open space with a view of the ocean. Raphael stopped by the railing, staring at the horizon as if searching for courage in the distant waves. What's going on, Raphael? Raphael took a deep breath and finally looked at him. His eyes were heavy with guilt. Mr. Morrison, I need to be honest with you. What I'm about to say will hurt you, and I'm truly sorry. But my conscience won't let me stay silent. Garrett's heart raced, each beat thundering in his ears. Just say it. The day you were sick, your wife came looking for me. She had my number from our first tour. She called me early that morning and asked me to take her back to that island. She said you were asleep and she wanted to make the most of the day. Garrett couldn't breathe. His hands gripped the railing so hard his knuckles turned white. Go on. I took her. I thought it was just another tourist outing. But when we got there, Raphael ran his hand over his face, clearly tormented. Mr. Morrison, your wife seduced me. We were together on the beach. Intimately. I know I have no excuse. I should have said no. But she was very insistent, and I was weak. Garrett's world collapsed on that terrace. Every word from Raphael was a blow to the stomach, worse than any food poisoning. He pictured the scene against his will, Sloane and Raphael on that paradise beach, the same place where she'd stripped naked in front of him on the first day. Now it made sense. The test. The setup. She'd been gauging his reaction, testing boundaries. Why are you telling me this? Garrett's voice came out hoarse, almost unrecognizable. Because you seem like a good man. Because I can't live with this secret. Because you're leaving today, and the truth needs to be said. You deserve to know who the woman you're married to really is. Garrett stayed silent for long minutes, processing. Raphael stayed beside him, respecting the moment of devastation. Thank you for telling me. The words came out automatically, empty of real emotion. Raphael nodded sadly and walked away, leaving Garrett alone with the weight of that revelation. The Panamanian sun still shone, the waves still broke against the shore, the birds still sang. The world kept turning while Garrett Morrison's marriage crumbled in silence. He went back up to the room and found Sloane finishing her packing. She smiled when she saw him. Who was that? Nobody important. Let's go. The taxi to the airport arrives in an hour. If Sloane noticed the change in his tone, she didn't show it. Or maybe she was too busy hiding her own secret. The return flight to Denver was an exercise in self-control for Garrett. 16 hours sitting next to the woman who'd betrayed him, breathing the same air, pretending everything was normal. Sloane tried to start conversations several times. She commented on the photos they'd taken, the places they'd visited, plans to come back someday. Garrett replied in monosyllables, keeping his eyes fixed on the screen in front of him or the window showing endless clouds. Garrett, are you okay? You're so quiet. Tired. Long flight. She accepted the explanation and went back to her movie. Garrett closed his eyes and pretended to sleep, while his mind replayed every moment of the trip through new eyes. Sloane's exaggerated smile at Raphael. The deliberate nudity on the first day. Her insistence that he needed to relax and live in the moment. The 6-hour absence while he was sick in the bathroom. It all clicked now, pieces of a perverse puzzle. When they landed in Denver, it was already night. They grabbed their bags in silence, found the car in the airport parking lot, drove home without exchanging more than a few words about traffic. Sloane yawned, commenting on jet lag. Garrett drove on autopilot, each block bringing him closer to the moment he knew was inevitable. They got home just before midnight. The apartment was exactly as they'd left it, clean, organized, waiting for the return of a happy couple from their paradise vacation. Garrett dropped the bags in the middle of the living room and made no move to unpack. Sloane stretched. "I'm exhausted. I'm going to take a quick shower and collapse in bed. You coming?" "Sit down, Sloane." The tone made her freeze. There was something in it she'd never heard before. A cold calculation, a determination that cut through the air like a blade. She turned slowly and met Garrett's eyes. What she saw there made her swallow hard. "What is it?" "Sit down. Now." Sloane obeyed, sinking into the couch while Garrett stayed standing, keeping the physical distance that mirrored the emotional chasm between them. "Raphael came to the hotel today. Before we left." Sloane's face drained of color instantly. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. "He told me everything, Sloane. Every detail. How you called him the day I was sick. How you asked him to take you back to that island. How the two of you were together there, on the same beach where you'd stripped naked in front of me just days before." "Garrett, I can explain." "Can you?" He tilted his head, almost curious. "I'm genuinely interested in hearing what possible explanation there is for this. Please, enlighten me." Sloane opened and closed her mouth several times, tears beginning to stream down her face. Garrett watched without moving, without offering comfort, without showing the pain consuming him inside. "It was a terrible mistake. I don't even know what came over me. The place, the freedom, I got carried away." "You got carried away." Garrett repeated the words slowly, savoring their bitterness. "Interesting choice of words. Like you were a leaf in the wind and not an adult woman making conscious choices." "Garrett, please." "Please what, Sloane? Please forgive me. Please forget. Please pretend you didn't cheat on me while I was vomiting my guts out in a hotel bathroom." She was sobbing now, face buried in her hands. Garrett remained still, a statue of restraint. "You planned this, didn't you? The show on the first day, stripping naked in front of him. It was an invitation. A preview of what you meant to do. You wanted to see if I'd react, if I'd forbid it, so you could call me controlling and justify what you'd already decided to do. It wasn't like that." "Not? Then tell me how it was. Because from my point of view, you set up every step. And when the perfect opportunity came, when I was incapacitated, you ran to him without hesitation." Sloane lifted her tear and makeup-streaked face. "It was once. Just once. And I regretted it the moment it happened. Garrett, you're my husband. I love you." Garrett laughed. A dry laugh, devoid of humor. "Love. You say that word like it means something coming from you now. Let me tell you what love means to me, Sloane. It means when you're sick, I take care of you. It means when you're vulnerable, I protect you. It doesn't mean taking the first chance to cheat on me with a stranger on a paradise beach. What are you going to do?" The question hung between them. Garrett let it sit for long seconds before answering. "On Monday, I'm hiring a divorce lawyer. I'm looking into Colorado's laws on asset division in cases of adultery. I'm documenting everything. And I'm ending this marriage as cleanly and quickly as possible." "Garrett, no. Please, we can try couples therapy. We can get past this. 5 years, Garrett. Don't throw away 5 years because of one mistake." He stepped toward her for the first time since the conversation began, leaning in until their faces were level. "You threw away 5 years, Sloane. Not me. You made that choice on that beach. Now you'll live with the consequences." Garrett straightened and walked toward the bedroom. At the door, he stopped without turning. I'll sleep on the couch tonight. Tomorrow, one of us needs to find another place to stay. I suggest it be you. He went into the room, grabbed a pillow and a blanket, and returned to the living room. Sloane was still on the couch, crying silently. He ignored her, made up his spot on the smaller couch, and lay on his back, facing away from her. Garrett, her voice was a broken whisper. Good night, Sloane. He closed his eyes, knowing sleep wouldn't come. Not tonight. Maybe not for many nights still. But the decision was made, clear as the waters of that damned Panamanian island. The marriage had ended on that distant beach, and now it was just a matter of formalizing what Sloane had destroyed. In the months that followed, the divorce unfolded exactly as Garrett had planned. Methodical, documented, undeniable. The lawyer confirmed that Colorado considered adultery a factor in asset division, and Sloane's confession, recorded by Garrett that night in the apartment, served as evidence. She didn't contest it. Maybe out of guilt, maybe because she realized she had no arguments. The apartment stayed with Garrett, along with most of their savings. Sloane moved into a small studio on the other side of town. Raphael, Garrett learned by chance through a colleague who'd traveled to Panama months later, had quit his job as a tour guide. Apparently, the guilt had consumed him to the point he couldn't face American tourists anymore. Garrett didn't feel satisfaction from that news. He didn't feel anything, actually. 6 months after the trip, Garrett was sitting on the same couch where he'd confronted Sloane, staring at the walls she'd decorated. He needed to redecorate, he thought. Erase her traces. Start over. His phone buzzed with a message. It was a coworker inviting him to a happy hour. Garrett considered declining, as he'd done with every invite in the past few months. But something made him change his mind. He typed a reply in the affirmative and stood up to get ready. On the way to the bar, he passed a travel agency. In the window, a poster showed paradise beaches. Garrett stopped for a moment, watching the image. He didn't feel the sharp pain of the first few months. Just a familiar emptiness and a lesson burned into his mind. Paradises can hide the worst nightmares, and people we swear we know can turn out to be complete strangers. He kept walking, leaving the poster behind. Panama would forever live in his memory as the place where he learned 5 years of marriage could dissolve in a single day of betrayal. But Denver, his city, his job, his rebuilt life, was where he chose to be now. Alone, maybe. Hurt, certainly. But free from a lie that never should have existed. Sloane's betrayal didn't define Garrett Morrison. But how he handled it, with dignity and determination, defined the man he would become from then on. And that man, despite everything, still believed he deserved something better. That he deserved truth. That he deserved respect. And for the first time in months, as he pushed open the bar door and was greeted by the familiar faces of coworkers, Garrett smiled. It wasn't a wide, fully genuine smile yet. But it was a beginning. And beginnings, he'd learned the hardest way possible, were all you needed to move forward. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.